best boxing podcast in the world.
Prepare for combat, my adversaries crumble. Face it, I got a reputation for damage. Busters get ready to rumble. They lock me in a cell, have me trapped in a living hell. Though not guilty, I'm still in jail. Brother, I serve my time like a soldier. Maintain composure. My shadow boxing, a fight to the death. Busting boulders, every boxer with a pair of gloves. Best give up love. Here's a man from the makings of a thug. A lethal weapon, mind sharp. And in my heart, there's a wish to shake the world with the flurry of my black fist. Now once a high school dropout, now I'm the $1 million champ. Who's the next to get knocked out?
What's going on, everybody? Another episode of Cheap Seats Box Show. Angelo here. I will soon be joined by JP. He's on his way. This is the only way we can do it together this week. So we have to get you a show together because of the fight last week and, of course, the news of Canelo's failed drug tests. We got to hit those. So first things first, follow us on Twitter at Cheap Seats Box. iTunes, rate, review. You will be the next unofficial sponsor. You know how we like to do it. You take the time out to rate and review. We take the time out to shout you out and give you credit for it. That's how we do things. YouTube starting to pick up a little steam. I mean, it's still pretty pathetic, but I appreciate all the people who did subscribe to it. Go ahead, hit subscribe on there. Link up with us on there. You can catch the show on there. And once we get to a certain number, I'm going to start. I want to do some other things on there, like I've been saying, but not until it is worth the time. But let's get going on this. It's going to be a little bit different. We're not going to run it back like we usually do, where you get the biggest fight first, because I want JP to be here. So let's start at the bottom here. Jose Uzcategui with TK over Andre Durrell. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter when you talk about the Durrells. It really doesn't matter. This fight pretty much was what you thought it was going to be. I mean, we saw, besides the fouling, that Uzcategui was too good for Durrell the last time around. So this fight was literally no shock to me. I'm not surprised by how easy it was for him. Durrell is just a shell of himself. Now, you know, I heard a lot of talk about Uzcategui and where he goes from here, and what kind of a player he can be, you know, in at 168, and I think he's somewhere in the middle. I don't think he's at the top level. I don't think he's I don't think that, you know, like, he's not a bum by any stretch, but to say that he's a tough matchup for top fighters, but I don't know how many of those top fighters he beats. Does he beat David Benavidez? Does he beat Zurdo Ramirez? Can he even beat a James DeGale? I don't know. Because I don't rate Durrell that high. So I don't know how good this win is. I know that stylistically that was a terrible matchup for Durrell. So, you know, we'll see going forward with Uzcategui what he's going to do. Before we get to the wild card, as trucks drive by me all loud and shit, and they know I'm doing a show, motherfuckers. We'll skip over to the HBO card. Sergey Kovalev gets a stoppage over Igor Mikhalkin. We can say this, that as much as he pieced up Mikhalkin in this fight, you know, there's not a lot to take from this fight. We need to see Kovalev pushed to see just how far he's come from the Ward losses, because it still seems like Ward is on his mind. So I just don't really know how. I don't know how much of him was taken, how much of his soul was taken away from that second Ward fight. I don't think anything was taken away from the first fight. I think it was taken away from in the second fight. So we'll have to figure out and find out how much of him is left. Maybe it's just something he learns from. I don't know. So until we see him get pushed, we really don't know what's left. So, you know, and the Mikhalkin fight's not his fault. We know that they put the offer out to Sullivan Barrera, who turned down the fight, took the fight on the undercard. You know, so as much as we, you know, I think people would have been much happier if he would have had this kind of performance against the Sullivan Barrera than he did against Mikhalkin. So, you know, some of it is his own dealing, because we don't know exactly where. He hasn't shown us that that old Crusher. I don't think we've seen the old Crusher. And is it because he's going in against subpar competition, or is it because some of his heart was taken away? We don't know. Well, those questions still have to be answered. I would probably lean on part of the, he probably isn't what he once was. Sometimes that aura of invincibility goes away. So does half of what made you you. On the undercard, Dimitri Bivol, with a dominant 12th round stoppage over Sullivan Barrera, who ended up taking this fight on the undercard for lesser money. So go figure. Not a good call when it seems like, when you see the domination, what Bivol did. Bivol, whatever the fuck their names are. They change from fucking minute to minute. But I think Bivol was, it was impressive on how easily he shut down Barrera, how much Barrera didn't throw punches, and that was because of the power of Bivol. And so, as much as it was so dominant and impressive, I didn't walk away being wowed by Bivol at all. Not at all, but it wasn't to the extent that you would think like a 12-round dominating stoppage win would be. It was even more dominant than what Andre Ward did. But yet somehow, for whatever reason, it didn't seem as spectacular, I guess. And maybe that's what it is. And maybe it was just so technical and so almost monotonous in the way that it kind of takes away from just how dominant the performance was, because it's not like it was an exciting fight. So you don't walk away. I guess that's probably why I didn't walk away being, blown away by the performance. He's definitely one of the better fighters at 175. There's still some questions that have to be answered. Hell, he's only 13 fights in. So, we want to see him get hit. We want to see how well he takes a punch, how well he does with adversity. Those questions have to be answered before we kind of know exactly the ceiling of him. But it looks to be pretty high. Skill-wise, it's well above average. And power-wise, he is one of the hardest hitters at 175. So, it's a deadly combination. I'll tell you this. Even if he wasn't one of the best, stylistically, he's going to be an issue for anybody in and around light heavyweight. So we know they're not going to fight next. We'll see. I'd like to see him against a Gvozdyk. That would be a fun matchup. I think Kovalev, they're talking maybe Joe Smith. So, the Gvozdyk fight would be good. Protervia is probably not going to be there for it. And plus he just signed with Top Rank, so we'll see what happens. They'll throw some fodder out there for him to continue to look good, and continue to build, I think, inevitably for a Kovalev Bivol unification. So we'll see what's up with that. This week I want to hit on a few fights real quick before JP joins me. On Friday, Regis Prograis, the Rougarou, is fighting Julius Ndongo, who was, of course, a late replacement for Victor Postal, who pulled out of the fight with an injury. Was Ndongo that road warrior killer that he seemed to be against, going to Russia and fighting Ricky Burton in Scotland? And is he more that fighter, or is he more the guy who got thoroughly dominated and stopped in 4 rounds by Terrence Crawford for that undisputed junior welterweight title? I think he's somewhere in between. I think, though, because, it's not like Ndongo's a young man. I think that the athleticism of Prograis is going to carry him. I would even say to a stoppage victory. I say a late round stoppage. I say about round 9, he'll stop him on accumulation. I think Prograis is just too fast, too quick, and it's just too. He's gonna out athlete him. You know what I mean? But say this for Ndongo, he's definitely not afraid to go on the road and fight anybody, anywhere, even Deadwood, was it South Dakota? I don't even know where the fuck Deadwood is. It's one of the Dakotas. Give me Regis program. You know what? And Regis, you told me you're gonna come on the show when you had something to talk about. So I'm gonna hold you to that. As soon as this fight's over, you need to come on the show. That's on Friday. On Saturday, dueling cards. One on ESPN, one on Showtime. ESPN, Oscar Valdez fighting Scott Quigg, and even though I know that he's gotten pushed a little bit, especially in the Mariaga fight, I think Scott Quigg is going to be the biggest test for Valdez so far. I think this is the appropriate step. I think Quigg, and for whatever reason, Quigg gets a lot of shit from people. He only has the one loss, if I'm not mistaken, to Frampton, who broke his jaw in the 4th round. And I thought actually Quigg closed that fight stronger than Frampton did. Unfortunately, Frampton is now nowhere near the size of an Oscar Valdez. Oscar Valdez is a more naturally bigger fighter. He is a natural featherweight. And when they fought Frampton, it was at 122. So he's a, unfortunately for Quigg, he's a bigger guy. He's probably a more powerful guy. I don't think that Valdez is a huge puncher, but I think just power-wise, he's going to be a bigger, stronger guy. So the punches will be a little bit harder. I think that it'll slow Quigg down a little bit. We know that he throws a lot of fastballs, and where Quigg is a professional, he's going to time him. He's going to get to him. He's going to get to a point to where he can catch Valdez a few times and actually put him to the test. But I think Valdez is a good enough fighter, and I think he is growing. And unfortunately, he's one of those young guys who got a title, I think, a little too early and is kind of learning on the job. He'll be better for his recent fights, and I think it will show. I see it being fairly close through the first 8 rounds, maybe even tied up, and where I see Valdez actually pulling away at the end and kind of getting a clear-cut decision victory. I like Valdez. He's a fun fighter. He's flawed, but that's part of what makes him fun. You want somebody to be fun and flawed. That makes for exciting, good fights. Just like Deontay Wilder is. The dueling card, of course, on Showtime is the return of Mikey Garcia in what can only be explained as not the best moves ever career-wise. Could have had a Linares fight, maybe, whatever you want to believe. But he's going to go in for... he's going to make his title run at 140 now. He's going to go for that title. He says he's going to go back down to 135. I believe that when I see it. Against Sergey Lipinets. Look, Lipinets is, I think, a fighter who is tailor-made for Garcia. Even though, he's going to be he might be the biggest puncher that he's faced. I would say that Lipinets is a bigger puncher than even Broner, and who can make weight more naturally, so where he's not sucked down at 140 because he had a fat camp. But I just think that when Lipinets opens up and gets a little bit more wide, that you're gonna see Mikey just start to slowly pick him apart. And it's not because Lipinets is a bad fighter. He's a good enough fighter, especially at 140 with the exit of Terrence Crawford to welterweight. You have to believe that Lipinets is one of the better fighters at the division, but Mikey Garcia is a step above everybody. That's why he was one of my pound for pound guys. Yeah, he's not the most exciting, and doesn't always wow you in his skills. Although he has unbelievable skills, he doesn't wow you with his skills. But the one thing you can't be wowed is like I always say when we're talking about him, go find me anytime, any fight in the last 7-8 years where Mikey Garcia has actually lost 2 rounds in a row. And I'll wait for that because it doesn't happen. That's how good of a technical fighter he is. And with Lipinets, it's going to be no different, man. It's going to be, it'll be fun for a few rounds because Lipinets is going to be game, but it's just a matter of time before that snowball starts rolling downhill. And I see Garcia, even though he's not a big puncher, I see him getting about a 10th round stoppage just on accumulation. Look, Mikey has an 80+% knockout percentage for a reason. Not because he's a huge one-punch guy, but because he will systematically break you down to where he can open you up for clean, hard shots, and that's what he'll do with Lipinets. Look for Mikey to get his title in his fourth weight class. We'll see what it means from there. I don't know where he goes from there. I guess he could fight maybe a pro grade, but pro grades, he's going to be in title contention for the WBC and not, so, I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't the best maneuvers career-wise, it seems like, for Mikey. As much as I like him in the ring, out of the ring, sometimes he leaves a little bit to be desired, but he's still one of the most dominant fighters in all of boxing. Let's see what we got here. This show, I'm just gonna let you guys know now. It's gonna be a little bit shorter than when me and JP get together our hour. It's probably gonna be in the 45-minute range. But I wanted to leave this last 30 minutes for Wilder talk and for Canelo talk. And with that, let's welcome in my buddy. JP, what's going on, buddy?
Nothing. We're not talking about that. Let's get into these fights.
All right.
Sorry I'm late, y'all.
It happens, man. So we're going, like I said, we're going to save the meat and potatoes for the last part. Deontay Wilder gets the 10th round stoppage over Luis Ortiz. JP, what do you think, man?
I think the power saved him because he was getting beat up on. But he said, he knew Ortiz was the most technical fighter in the division. I like what Ortiz brought. It seems Deontay had no answer for him him staying on for Ortiz circling right.
Mm-hmm.
As long as he circled right, it was easy work because he couldn't get that right hand off that way. But when they got into the fights, yeah, he got caught. It's expected there in a fight. Eventually you're going to get hit. So he got hit. First time he got jumped on. That was cool. I think some people said he won the round after the knockdown. I think he lost that one. 7th round is when everybody saw that, not just he could take a punch, he could take an onslaught. I think Ortiz would have probably knocked him out or down if he would have went to the body before that, but he just didn't do that. Here's what it is. He recovered and, knocked him down, then knocked him out. Like, one of the things I crack up about with Wilder is I believe this wholeheartedly. When him being wild when he knocks somebody down, for the most part, it gets the referee's attention to try to stop the fight earlier. But since he's fighting since he was fighting a guy of his caliber, they didn't do that because he had the skill to weather the storm too. So, great heart for Wilder to withstand it and get the knockout because he was going to need a knockout to win, basically, if he had kept going that way. But great heart by Ortiz, too. I don't think that's somebody he wants to have a rematch with. I really don't, because it's like Ortiz knows if I would have just stayed circling right, I would have never had this problem. So I think it puts the rest of the division on notice for both of them. I expect a undisputed unification fight sometime later on in the year, and I expect for Ortiz to probably be the king of the hill of the people for that spot to try to dethrone the next champ who's undisputed. So yeah, good fight though.
Can you guys hear it in JP's voice? Playing hurt, man.
Yeah,
you can literally hear it in your voice. Here's my son never watches fights with me, right? My youngest son, and he's there. We watched the fight together, and it was like he must have thought his dad was like the smartest man alive because like I was literally calling everything that was going to happen. It was pretty simple. I thought the first 4 rounds was just fucking Ortiz. Even though somehow the judges gave Wilder the second round when he didn't even land any power punches at all. He literally landed 2 jabs. Yeah. But that's weird. We'll get to that later. But in the 4th round, Ortiz started bouncing around, feeling himself. And I told my son, that's a recipe for disaster. That motherfucker's going to leave himself open and get fucking dropped. Watch this shit. Next round, bam, dropped. I was like, I told you. And he knocked him down. And I know what you're talking about in the 6th round, by the way. The round after the knockdown in the 5th. So, Ortiz weathers that storm. Late in the 6th round, he clipped. I did give Wilder the 2nd round. That's the only 2 rounds I gave him was 5th and 6th. But he clipped him. And I even tweeted out, I said, gave that round to Wilder, even though Ortiz got to him more than he wanted him to. And then in the next round, he caught him. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Literally, I could see, he found his opening. He got his opening. And give Wilder credit. He withstood the onslaught. Look, I don't know if he has the chin to take the onslaught, but he definitely had the heart to withstand the onslaught. And I think that's the difference, because there are so many similarities in this fight to Joshua and Klitschko. They both don't have great chins. They actually have way below standard chins, honestly, because they get hit and hurt quite a bit. But they had the heart to fight through it. And yeah, Ortiz didn't jump on Wilder in the 8th, and they said the same thing. Klitschko didn't jump on Joshua in the 7th. There's reasons why, though, people, because they know that there's something coming in return that they got to be wary of. You can't just go in there like Wilder does. All right, one time that's going to cost Wilder. Wilder is going to get Lewis'd one day. Yeah. He's going to get like Lennox Lewis, like, I'm coming in, boom, out, I'm out, and it's going to happen. But give Wilder all the credit in the world. He withstood the onslaught. He came back, and at the end of the 8th round, going into the 9th round, I tweeted out. I told my son, he's exhausted. He's going to get clipped in one of these last 4 rounds. I mean, it's just, can he hold on? Didn't matter. He was going to lose the decision anyway. We come to find out. But give Wilder all the credit in the world. And this is where the consistency thing goes on. People like I said this, if you gave Wilder or Joshua credit for beating Klitschko, you got to give Wilder the same credit for beating Ortiz. If you said Klitschko was too old, well, then you got to give Wilder the same criticism. It goes both ways. I mean, nobody believes that Ortiz is actually 38, going to be 39 years old. Nobody believes that shit.
He looks, just because he looked like LeBron James, he could.
He look like LeBron James' dad. We've never even seen him. But give him credit, man. I mean, he deserves all the credit. He did what he was supposed to do. He did not have to take this fight. This fight was a fight he wanted to take. It's the same thing with Joshua and Klitschko. And then why we're going to bring them up? Because those are the only 2 names you're really worried about anymore in the heavyweight division. Is where are these 2 guys going, and then where is it going to lead to? Look, it's probably not going to lead to a fight right away. Well, we already know that. Honestly, Joshua's coming late summer, I think, to the United States, and supposedly it's Big Baby Miller, right? Which is fine. You got to build up the fight if you're going to have the fight here in the U.S. But I'm going to tell you one thing. We saw after the Klitschko fight that Joshua wasn't as aggressive when he fought Takam as he was when he fought Klitschko. You're going to see the same thing in Wilder's next fight. Honestly, if I was Hearn, and you really want, and do you want the legacy or do you want the money? Because I think Wilder, if you're going to take that fight, you take it next. Because Wilder's going to be a little bit more tentative. Because as much as they go through that fight, because that fight or flight mode comes up, they got to survive. That's one thing. But after that settled down, knowing this shit could happen again, you seem to be more tentative. It's the Keith Thurman effect. You know what I mean? Gotcha. I guarantee you almost, well, depending on who the opponent is, of course, that Wilder will be a little bit more tentative in his next fight. Now, they're not going to do it, but that's where I would go. This fight, Wilder Joshua, minus a bullshit card, there's only one way Wilder can beat Joshua, in my opinion, if everything's on the up and up. Joshua could knock him out. Joshua could win a decision. But Wilder can only knock him out, in my opinion, to do enough. But that power evens everything out. Even though it should be a 70-30 fight in Joshua's favor, because that power is a 50-50 fight. There's no other way around it.
Like I've said it for a while. I think Wilder unifies the whole division. And just it's not just the power, but no heavyweight moves his head. So that really swings the pendulum more so in his favor, because we always talk about heavyweights. That's like a one-punch division for the most part. Who's got the biggest punch? Him. Who moves the head of the division? Nobody. So, I mean, the cards are in his favor. So I think he winds up doing that. But for now,
it's like this. Neither fighter could withstand the other fighter's onslaught. I don't think so. And one, like Wilder, how he grabbed onto Ortiz, rightfully so, smart thing to do. Could he do that to Joshua? Because Joshua is strong enough to throw him off.
That was the two things I forgot to say.
Yeah.
First, there's a level of heart, because he wasn't. Some people get rocked and they fall back, which is probably gonna get you knocked out. He actually kind of smothered him to buy time. Second, I saw what your corner did. Oh, they bought a whole lot of time that next round. We forgot all this. Yeah, okay.
Let's like this. Ortiz did. The doctor had to come over and check him out afterward. Ortiz didn't get that same benefit after he got knocked down in the fifth.
Right. Hold up. Come right back here. So, I saw that too.
There was a lot of home cooking, but you know what? It is. See, now these cards, how bad they were, where every judge had them up. And every judge scored the exact score for every round. They were 3 identical cards, not just in numbers, but in rounds. This is a pattern with Wilder. He was up on the Spilka cards, where that one was 50-50. Some people had Wilder up, some people had Spilka up when he stopped him. But they had him up like 4 rounds to 1, or 3 rounds to 1 when he fought Gerald Washington. And everybody was like, man, Gerald Washington had to have won at least 3 of the first 4 rounds, at minimum. So you're starting to see a pattern there. Like for whatever reason, Deontay Wilder's getting a lot of credit when he doesn't do anything in a round. That's why you have to be kind of. It definitely ain't gonna happen in Barclays. There's no way Josh was like, no. But you have to be leery with because you're starting to see a pattern with these scorecards, because there's a chance, because they're going to be so tentative, it could go to the scorecards. It really could. You could see an uneventful heavyweight fight with 2 guys who are just avoiding power the whole night.
And I think that's why Tyson Fury feels like he can come back and beat him, because he's probably one of the only people that can nullify the fight and make it ugly. And if it makes it an ugly fight, then they're going to have to score it in his favor. Because anybody else, if you fighting Wilder, I would look at it like, man, I got to wash this dude if we go 12 rounds, because he's getting rounds that nobody should get.
Yeah.
Even though he has the power to even the fight and knock people out, the rounds he's getting by the judges, it's like, what are y'all looking at? Like, really, what y'all looking at?
Yeah, it's very suspect. And like we always said, if you're going to cheat, make it look like you're not trying to cheat. They didn't make it look like they were trying to cheat.
They can't do that.
They couldn't be like he was up on 2 to score cards, or 1 was even. Like, it wasn't even like that. You know what I mean?
Make it close. He was coming back.
Yeah, no.
Nope. No. Just blow it.
All right, let's get on to this Canelo thing, man. We'll see what the future holds for those two. It's not going to happen next, guys. It's going to be at least another year before that happens. But now the big news happened yesterday, and that's Canelo popping for, I guess it was 2 failed tests. I guess it was like in a few days of each other, for clenbuterol, which we've heard it through the years in boxing, and people have been popped for it before. Honestly, not shocked, JP, man. I not even shocked at how quickly the WBC and WBA said, no, I believe him. I believe him. He said he didn't do it, so I believe him.
When the money's on the table,
yeah,
the rules don't apply. I was just caught off guard by I don't know about doping like that as far as countries, but he was like he's eating meat in Mexico, and I was like, I thought he lived in San Diego. I'm like, and then one of the coworkers told me, he said he was at Taco Cabana. I'm like, all the years the Chargers was in San Diego, nobody got popped going to Taco Cabana. But I mean, this is boxing that we're talking about. If you're a star, you're going to get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a star, it's going to haunt you. Think about it. I mean, we just talked about Ortiz and Wilder. He got popped. I mean, they're the only fighter. Shoot, no, that don't even count. Povetkin don't really count because they let him fight again immediately. Basically, he almost killed a guy. Was it Lucas Brown?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, getting caught, and there's been numerous fighters that we've seen over the years that it's like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Him, the thing about it is, I'm not into PEDs like that. I don't anything with a medical name on it. I have no idea. I got to research this stuff. So I'm like, oh, is this for like losing weight? He's always been said he was too big. So now he goes up to 160 finally for the second time in a row. And now he's still too big.
It also builds lean muscle mass. So, but let's put it like this: it's definitely suspicious. Look, you can always you can always fall back. If you're Mexican, you just go, "Hey, look, man, I had bad meat," you know.
I would have never known.
You know what I mean? It's just like it's just to go to. It's suspicious. I'm gonna shout out somebody. Clay Stevenson, this is for you. I said I was going to get into this, and he's like, I can't. I can subscribe on YouTube, but I can't leave a rate and review on iTunes. Yes, you can, because we all have friends who have iPhones. You say, hey, you know what? Open your podcast app real quick. I gotta do something real quick. That's how you could do it. And I tell you why. He goes, why risk it? Why risk it? Because there's not that much risk.
I was about to say, yeah.
There's not that much risk. The fight's not going to get called off. Even if it was, you're going to make $20 million fighting somebody else. Because enough people be like, nah, he wasn't trying to cheat. I looked into his eyes. He was a good man. He wouldn't lie to me. And then when you're at the top, the risk is minimal at best. How many people talk about Roy Jones's failed test? Nobody. People barely even mention Mosley's, and he wasn't even the top guy. They still say, well, he got him 2 wins over Oscar, and he was on during Oscar fight. You know, there's a reason that they do this shit, because they can get away with it. Why do you think Pacquiao had a reason in his training camp back in the day? Because he liked the shakes he made for him? No, because the shit works. It was worth the risk. Why did Floyd fucking hire Ariza afterwards? He wanted some of them shakes too. Floyd, the biggest, and this I said the transformation has been complete to Canelo, Canelo Money Alvarez. You know,
no, not yet. No.
Oh, he's got the judges that he wants. He gets the referee he wants. He's not even the champion. He gets to come out first.
No, he didn't. He don't have the strippers yet.
Oh, he don't have the strippers yet, but he will.
Well, now when he does that, so he got the cars. He's kind of playing the lifestyle thing. I see him.
Yeah.
Just need to add the strippers. We in there.
But I mean, okay. The day before the biggest fight in boxing history.
Yeah.
Floyd Mayweather says, you know what? Even though I have to put on weight to make 147. I'm so dehydrated that I'm going to get an IV 5 times the legal limit in my house with nobody around. Why does he risk it? Because it doesn't fucking matter. When you're the cash cow, this is what happens. There's almost zero risk. Look at the thing that Golden Boy put out. Canelo, what was it? Something about VADA during VADA testing, which he pushed for. Shut the fuck up, you politician. That's bullshit. No. He got caught. That's all there is to it. Now, does it mean I'm not going to watch the fight? No. Does it mean I'm not going to pay for the fight? Yes, but that's just normal for me.
See, here's my issue. It goes the same way for the judges. If you're going to cheat, geez, make it look good. Like, the excuses are getting worse and worse and worse. Like, the only person who had a legitimate excuse all this time I will give is Brandon Rios. He said, I was drinking stuff in China. You can't read Chinese. Fine. You know, that is a legitimate excuse. I didn't know I was drinking something illegal. Like, how am I supposed to know? Fine. Can anybody argue with that? Not really, because it was like, well, you know, who knows, right? But if you look at the last 15 years, numerous people have numerous either scandals or people look at them like, I can't really buy your story, B. You know, the only person who's proud of their doping is really Tyson Fury. He had the whole Tony Montana thing. Everybody else
He just embraced it.
Yeah, everybody. But he's like, look, well, I'm not using performance-enhancing drugs. These are party-enhancing drugs. You know? But shit.
Like, look at Evander Holyfield. People don't even talk about the shit. He was flat out roided up to the fuck. You don't get built like that at an advanced age without using stuff like that, especially when you were 190 pounds and people said you were a small cruiserweight.
You know what? I take it back. This is ridiculous. Shannon Briggs should have got a title shot then. I mean, goddamn, everybody else.
Well, see, there's the risk. If you ain't high up on the totem pole,
right.
you ain't getting away with this shit.
Yeah.
And then this is why they do it. Why do they do it? Because it works. Why do they get away with it? Because they make enough money. Hell, fucking Floyd had a goddamn prison sentence pushed back so he could fight. I mean, this is what happens, especially in Vegas, man. Yeah. Man, anything. Hey, what happens here stays here. Maybe not, but what happens here will get pushed under the rug and we'll sweep it away, and you don't have to worry about shit.
I'm gonna be off a couple days. I'm going to Taco Cabana and see if I could lose some weight.
And go to the gym, huh?
Yeah, I can't go to the gym. I'm gonna get on a bike. Like, damn, I done lost 10 pounds. This meat is a beast.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to go get me the two steak tacos.
But I bet not find out Taco Cabana like Taco Bell and is owned by like the same company with KFC and Pepsi and shit. Wait a minute, Taco Cabana?
They sell Coke. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yum is Pepsi, KFC, all Pizza Hut. So if Taco Cabana is like owned by Coca-Cola, your meat did not come tainted, bro. You should have said it was the soda.
Well, let's be honest. And people were talking about this on other shows when they were calling in and said, I guess, like, I don't watch him because I stopped watching 24/7 a long time ago. Talking about his fucking chef was over there preparing his food, but this motherfucker's eating taco truck shit and getting busted on. Come on, man. We've seen the pictures. You've gotten a little big over the last couple of years, a little swollen.
Yeah, he was lifting weights, man. We all get bigger, right? You know what I'm saying? You know how I look at it. I'm like, hey, I still say Barry Bonds was cheating. I ain't gonna say that about Canelo.
Oh no, Barry Bonds was cheating his motherfucking ass off.
So yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Barry Bonds admitted to not knowingly cheating.
There you go. You know what? He was on flaxseed oil. Canelo was eating. He was eating his meat with flaxseed.
So
oil.
he was doing flaxseed and B12 shots, vitamin B12 shots. The old Roger Clemens excuse.
In all seriousness, who I want to know Triple G's response, because that's who a lot of times when these fighters get away with this shit, really the person you should be concerned about the most is their opponent. So if Triple G, and he really doesn't talk too much, he really doesn't say anything, so his response is going to be interesting. I heard a little bit of Abe talking, and I think Robert Garcia was talking, because Robert Garcia the fight ain't going to be over. We already know that. It kind of happened before training camp per se, so, whatever. Which blows a hole in the year-round testing bullshit. Because if you're year-round testing and you get popped and you still fighting, it doesn't really matter if you're testing year-round. No, it doesn't.
Well, they basically what has been told to you, right, is exactly what you can take and how much of it you can take and still be okay. That's basically what they're doing. It's like it's kind of like the NFL test. The NFL drug test, right?
Yeah.
They always say if you fail an NFL drug test, you're the stupidest person ever. They go, listen, guys, in 2 months, on April 27th, we're all going to get tested. Okay? So I need you to be clean. So if you get popped, then you're just a dumb motherfucker. That's just how it goes.
True.
And this is just a different roundabout way of how they're doing it. They're basically saying, listen, here's what you can take. Here's how much you can take. You're okay. You get some clenbuterol in Mexico. Go get some meldonium in fucking Russia. You're going to be okay. This is basically, they are giving you the guidelines to how to cheat and to get away with it. But you better make sure you fucking make money. Because if you're a motherfucker who don't make money, You
screwed.
look what happened to Ortiz. He got hit, right? He didn't get to fight that fight right away.
No.
He had to hold off one fight to get to that fight.
How? It's just. How about this? If you make over $5 million a fight, just say VADA suspension is optional. You know what I'm saying? USADA suspension is optional. Because I haven't seen a fight stopped yet. Except for the one in Russia. And that was because America and Russia has this certain thing going on. You know what I mean? It's not... But...
Well, Wilder showed you. I'll make a motherfucking fight and I'll go on.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, America versus Russia. You literally have people... he's a Russian... American. No, we ain't gonna let this slide. We don't want Putin in here. Like that, because Wilder obviously will fight a guy who's on drugs or who's done PEDs. But everybody else, cut it out. I mean, it's like the one with Fraser Kendo and Briggs. Well, hell, y'all should have let him fight just in the pure sense of the word because y'all was gonna strip the winner of the title in 30 days anyways.
Exactly.
Should have just made him pay a fee. You won. You need to defend your belt tomorrow. You can't. You're stripped of the title. Like, nobody cares. It's sad because, we've talked about it for years. Like, if you get caught and you win, that win should be nullified.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a no contest. That should be a loss. DQ.
Yes,
you cheated.
But
there's literally no difference between that and repeated low blows. There's literally no difference. It's illegal, so it's a DQ. You lost. It's a loss. There's a reason that Roy Jones was not undefeated going into that Tarver fight because he lost the DQ fight. Yeah. When you DQ, you lose. When you do something illegal, you lose. You did something illegal. You got caught cheating. You lost. Easy. And some of that fucking paycheck needs to come out. That's where it really needs to hit. All right, JP, we're gonna cut it off early. I know how you feeling. So everybody, follow the show on Twitter at Cheap Seats Box, iTunes, rate, review. You'll be next unofficial sponsor. Follow us, subscribe us to our show on YouTube. We would appreciate that a lot. You know how this shit goes, baby. I think we might actually get to a top 5 list next week. It's been busy.
It's gonna be on and popping.
Yeah. JP, anything else, man?
This is where the fighters fighting the fans commentate.
And we do it just like you for the cheap seats because we ain't buying no tickets, goddammit. Peace.
Top 5 G.
Again, I'll be the next heavyweight champion. Call me crazy, but no one can fake me. I'm the product of the projects. Lost and crazy. Throw your hands up, Mr. Bruno. Ride. Big Mike Tyson about to brutalize that ass. And no hesitation for the whole nation. I beat that ass so bad I probably violate probation. Through demonstration as I strategize information. Intent to kill, so it's